There, a storm has arrived. Take a quick walk off the porch. Yeah, guess we got this for the next 2 days. A lovely snowstorm blowing in. My dad was just over to plow me out. It's freaking cold too. It's like 10 degrees. Ah, beautiful thing. Alright, let's get down to some business. Alright, welcome back, guys and girls. You're with Randy here in the den. What a fabulous week it has been. It's been kind of an unbelievable week. Things that I have come to just adore over in electronics in the past couple of years since I've really delved myself into the electronics world. And things that I've seen that I thought I'd never, ever get to actually touch and physically manipulate in my own hands. Just kind of things that I was in awe of. So my buddy stops by this week. They're cleaning out stuff at his work that they're sick of tripping over. And stuff that's just not much use to them. And I got this little fancy treat right here. And some of you older people that have been around for a while in electronics might know what this is. And if not, I'll tell you. It is the HeathKit frequency counter. Obviously says it right there, model B-101. From what I come up with, it's produced back in 1970, and as you can see down here, we got 5 nixie tubes for the display. I have had it plugged in real quick just to see where we're at. They do work, just a little glitchy, the 2 of them, the 2 right here. I love nixie tubes. I'll be blunt, I absolutely am in awe of them. They're the coolest, smallest, simplest, yet awesomest things that there is. So he drops this off and wasn't even sure what it was. I go, what? Wait. As soon as I seen it, I was like, oh my God. You gotta be kidding me. I have the cover for it over here. And actually some parts I gotta change out. A couple capacitors that are bad and that, but I wanted to do the video first to show you guys. Oh, capacitor's already falling out. Look at that. I've already had them desoldered. I just wanted to pop them back in just to show you kind of how it looked. Before I did change it over, kind of to show it as it was originally. And, whoop, little diodes on the move too. Yeah, this thing is awesome. This is awesome. You can see the nixies down in here. The original nixie tubes are made by Burroughs. I see that these aren't Burroughs. They look, I guess to me, newer, but I'm no freaking professional, obviously. These nixie tubes are made by National Electronics, and they're actually out of Geneva, Illinois. Made in the good old US of A. And as you can see, we got lots of chips going on, lots of IC chips. Basically, what I've been able to learn about this and have learned through the last couple of months, the timing of this is actually unbelievable because I've actually been learning more about old tubes and just all kinds of tube stuff. It all started with the tube radio I had there, but them were actually miniature tubes. These are miniature too. They're all the coolest things though. To me, they're just, I'm in awe of them. Just to think back of how, back then, how crazy it would have been to see them. Basically it uses TTL logic. And we got down through here, we got logic gates. Up front here are the actual drivers for the nixie tubes. And when you bought this, HeathKit actually sold their stuff as kits. This was sold as a kit back in 1970. This was the first one. Oh, dumping out the capacitors. The model IB101 is the first one of continuous models that went up to IB1101, and then it got to IM, and then they went to the LCD displays and that. So this was the very first kit though that they had. Not the first exact kit, first kit of nixie tubes as a frequency counter that they had for this model. And I'm just absolutely woo! I get chills. It is so cool. It's just one of them things that you just never think you'd have the money to actually even purchase or anything. I'm still actually in awe of the thing. It's just so cool to actually touch one and have it work. And that's the actual goal now, is to get, like I showed, I got the capacitors and everything. I checked them all. They're bad. I got to get them changed out. You can see this one's cracked here. You got the 4 capacitors here. Transformer. You have sometimes it's actually listed as a voltage regulator back in here. Got the schematics I'm looking at right over here. It's all fine print, so it's hard to see exactly what I'm looking at. I'll bring them in so you guys can see it. Maybe I'll bring it right up so you guys can take a good look. See what's going on with the schematics. That is, here is something going on that's neat. I've actually haven't seen this before, and I don't know what's going on. I'll be absolutely honest with you, but anyways, this back here, this one right down in here, I'll put my thumb on it, actually pull it out to show you, because dropping stuff. This is listed right here, this guy. It's listed not as a resistor, but as a diode. In fact, a 4.7 volt Zener diode. And I tested it, and it tests one way as a diode and then open the other way, which diodes are supposed to. So I got to run a different test to do the more fancier test, the curve tracer. But I actually got to put it in line with the resistor, run it through the power supply, and have it test with the multimeter so I can see what the voltage drop is across that. But I've never seen one that looked like a resistor. Now I have seen capacitors that look like that, look like resistors, but never a diode like that. So, or Zener diode to be in fact. So yes, pretty fancy stuff here. You see your supply line comes in here, it plugs in the back. I actually have the cord. I had it right here. I don't see it. It's around somewhere though. But anyways, it comes in the back end here. There's the plug. So this is basically almost kind of upside down. If you kind of look at it this way. Boom, comes in here. Once you plug in, a transformer runs through, does all the fancy stuff through the diodes, bridge. Then there's also a Zener diode, which would be like a voltage shunt. So if this line here, which is set up, there's a Darlington 3.5. Oh, that's the voltage source. So it's shunting out for up in here for 4.7. So if it goes over 4.7 volts, it'll shunt it out to ground to keep it from climbing too high. And then obviously it goes up through all the TTL, which is all our logic boards. So, right down in here, all these guys, bing, bing, bing. These are 7100 series, and these back in here have a big M on them, and I recognize that as Motorola. And these I guess you'd say brownish, dark brown, dark chocolate brown. Have a big F on them. Not sure what the big F is or stands for, but yeah, just some super cool stuff going on here. So I kind of traced out kind of what's going on, did some tests. So I do want to get the electrolytics out, these four, and get them replaced. I don't want them ruining anything in here by shorting out. Staying open, they probably wouldn't hurt anything, but it's shorting that I would worry about, that they'd end up burning up my transformer. And what else do we got going on here? Yeah, so this was sold actually as a kit, and it came with BNC. This isn't the original, these are cheapies that I got. BNC plug in the front, pop that on there, and hook that up to whatever you're wanting the frequency count, and then the unit here tallies that for you, and it actually counts it up through the nixie tubes, through stages. This would be your first segment, and it has 5 segments, is 5 nixie tubes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it counts up 0 to 9 on each one. Once it hits 9, then it adds a 1 to this one. Once this one hits 9, adds a 1 to this one, it goes 0 to 10 again. This one goes from 0 to 10, or 0 to 9. Once it hits what would be 10, it moves over 1 more decimal place. Or the decimal stays the same and the number grows. So, you know what I mean. You can put it together. It's got a 1 megahertz crystal oscillator in here. And when this was sold, it actually came as, like I said, a kit. So it was actually just all pieces, and you actually put it together yourself. And that was one thing when I looked it up, when I first got it, I was worried about is a lot of people said, oh my gosh, that's the worst part, is someone's always putting it together and hacking at it and that. But I gotta say that I have looked this thing over quite well, and whoever did do this did, and I think, a great job on it. I think they did an absolutely very nice job. Very nice, neat work, and consistent. Everything's very consistent here. So I'd have to commend someone, whoever did that. This would be probably back in the 1970s. Looks like this guy back here, the voltage regulator, was replaced at one time. It doesn't seem to match up. But oh, actually, I got it out so I could test it. That's right. I just got it hobbled in there. So I wanted to document everything before I started digging into it and tearing it all down. But yeah, this thing's pretty fancy. Something that I never thought that I'd ever come across, especially just dropped off to me from my buddy. And we kind of got a thing going where I'll do all the work on the stuff, and if he ever has a use for it, then I just give it to him, and if he doesn't, then I get to, I guess, keep it and play with it, and as long as I keep up with the stuff, you know. So I think that works out good. It's just the buddy system. You guys got the same thing, I imagine, with some of your friends and that. And it always seems to work out for me. Obviously, I have my medical problems and that, and have had when that happens. But that's the one thing I've always been very blessed and lucky with, was just the timing of how things. It's almost kind of magical sometimes how things work out for me. Let me get that the Xena resistor. There he comes. Get that out so I can flip the bottom over and show you guys. The only thing I see going on that looks a little bit odd is the Mica Domino capacitor down here. 250 mm's. That would be the only thing that looks a little bit bodged in. That was probably actually after the fact. I'm guessing that was probably the same time that someone changed out that voltage regulator. So you can see the 2 switches. I already hit the switches with deoxit. I want to hit the nixie tubes with some deoxit and get them cleaned up, especially the pins and that. Looks like the one, like I said, they all work. But these two, the second and the very last, the less important numerization, the top of them, the very top unit kind of blinks on and off. It comes in and out, in and out. Doesn't matter if you wiggle the tube or not. It doesn't seem to much matter. And it could be just going back into the chips too. They are old. Have been through, kind of whacked each one down, just tapping on them, just to make sure they're down in good. Testing all the connections. I just hope you guys appreciate this stuff as near as much as I do. I just fancy it, and it's just been an incredible whirlwind, I'll say, week, but in a very, very good, unexpected way. He was telling me there's some pretty cool stuff that he was grabbing, but I have no idea. You know, he does computer work and that, so it could be anything, you know. And to see stuff like this, it was jaw dropping. In fact, when I said, "Oh my God, you got to check this out," I go, I was hoping just that it showed up and lit up at any type, just so I could see it. I didn't care if it totally worked. You know, I'd be able to work on it, but he was pretty jaw dropped about it too when he was seeing how they worked, and I just kind of vaguely explained how they go. Yeah, pretty awesome stuff. You can see the point-to-point wires here, up to the switches, and then out to the BNC with the little yellow guy here. Just some real nice, clean work someone did. The only thing I'd have to complain about is the darn old flux. Man, that stuff just... that's what it does. In fact, that might even be part of the problem. That old flux, you gotta watch it. It starts to conduct as it ages on there. So I will get that cleaned up too, because it looks like freaking bird crap or something on it. And, just aesthetically doesn't look as pleasing, I guess you could say. The fuse is still good, and yeah, pretty fancy unit. I will run through. I don't want to plug it in now, obviously, having the capacitors half out and everything, and I want to get them changed out. That's what I wanted to pop this video quick, again, just to kind of document the unit and show it off in its original, and then change them out, change everything out, and so then I don't ruin anything, because I would be so frustrated with myself if I did somehow damage the unit. This unit was pretty neat back in the 70s when you did, it was in the catalogs. You could buy the HeathKit. They were out for quite a time now. This is nothing new for them. This again was the first model with the Nixie tubes, and it came as a kit, but it also come with the BNC plugs. It came with the IC puller, came with it, the alignment tool for pulling the chips. And it also came with its own solder for putting it together, too. You just had to have your own soldering iron. So, they were pretty fancy. I really wish they did this nowadays. They just don't seem to see this stuff anymore. It's and if you do, you just... I've put stuff together before, and the problem is you put it all together, but you have no idea how it works. It's just a bunch of parts to you that you see on the board and you put it there. It's almost like Legos, but you're soldering them in, it seems. So, that's the only drawback with putting stuff together like that. The HeathKit manuals, the whole manual that came with it was real in-depth, and it told you what was going on and why and how to put it together and what the best ways to do that. And I think that's fabulous. That's the best way to learn, instead of basically seeing the thing and it tells you what number and you just pop it in and solder it, and then by the time you're done, you have no idea where things are going or what they're doing, you know. So, pretty. I'm still in awe of it, I guess you could say. I got 2 pages here. I wanted to make sure I showed you guys this, of the schematics, in case anyone Just looking at this, let me try to get it up here and nice and flat so you can take a good look at it. Admire the HeathKit of it. The nixie tubes are again up here. The drivers for them back here. You got your decade counters that back that up. Like I said, then all your logic chips. In fact, back in here you got some more decade counters. Not sure if that's back in there or what. I still got to go through it more. The best part is all the highlighted pieces here are voltages, where you can test points for voltage, which is awesome, because once I get them capacitors changed, that's the first thing I'm going to do is get it plugged in, throw it on my dim bulb just in case there is a problem, and check all the voltages, and hopefully that fixes, I'd say the least significant, and then the second to most significant. It would be the upper portions, the top portions of the digits were flashing, just on and off. It wanted to be a 2, and then it didn't, and it did, and it was half a 2, and then the other one was another number. I don't remember, and it was stuck also. It didn't change. So, in case anyone wants to really view that out. So, yeah, super neat stuff. And this was the beginning of a pretty wild week for me, and it became unbelievable week. Let's just put it that way. What's the best way? Well, I'll show you what I got next, and this was out of left field. I had not expected anything like this to be showing up, and I was absolutely blown away, and still am. But this is pretty unbelievable. Let me be right back here. And I did not expect this to be showing up at my door. Ooh, the suspense. And talk about some power tubes. And I mean power tubes. Big, fancy power tubes. I had no idea he was going to be dropping anything remotely like this off. And these are all absolutely in nice condition. There isn't, I don't think, a one in here. I got these cleaned up, just these guys. I was showing my dad, mom and dad actually, showing them the tubes. Look at these guys. You can see where they flashed. When they make these and they put them together, the getter right here on the side, they actually have an induction tool they put up next to the side of it, and it flashes it to flashes the getter, and it takes out all the impurities then inside that are left over in the vacuum. You know, there's no gas inside these. These are vacuum. They're vacuum electron tubes is what they are. And flashing that getter, so when you get them when they're brand new, they could be brand new, I don't know. You'll have that. This one you could, I think, was been used before. Just it's got a little bit of discoloration right on the top where like a lot of dust is gathered on it at some point, if you can see that. But I mean, just these things are, I'm absolutely in awe of these things. They're so darn cool. 5-pin guy here. And I mean they're really unbelievable. Some have the pin at the top, which is a cap that goes on them. See the dust here. So I'm pretty sure they've sat in something. There's a couple of them that have markings on them that say that they're good or whatever. But I haven't had one. I've watched videos and that, and like I said, I have been learning about tubes here recently, ever since I got that old radio given to me from my grandma's. And I've learned, yeah, basically, if you have any type of whiting going on inside the tube, that's actually basically corrosion going on inside from the outside air impurities getting inside, or basically the tube is leaking then. So you know that the tube is shot then or on its way out. You're losing the vacuum. The whiter is inside. Here's a octal. These are octal tubes here. They got the keyway right in the center. You cannot put these in wrong. And basically you always start these. I mean, these are just... I can't believe I'm holding these and looking at them. I just kind of pranced over them real quick the other day. Just seeing real quick, because I was in awe of every other thing that he dropped, and talking to him and seeing how he's been, and we could chat for hours like a bunch of old, don't take any offense to anyone out there, but old ladies yentering. So I mean, we could. It's just love. There's a lot of knowledge going on with him. He knows a lot, and it's fun to chat with someone like that. Been a good friend of mine, actually. I really appreciate. Grew up with him, in fact. Except for the 8 years I lived in Florida there, which is, if you see in the beginning of this video, that's why I hate the cold. I hate the snow. It sucks. It's terrible. It blows. I freaking hate it with the mother F that. I cannot stand the snow, the cold, any of it. As you can tell, my hands, they don't like it either. I used to have trouble even when I was younger. My fingers would get frozen. If it was 40 degrees out, my fingers would be froze sometimes. It was horrible. I hated it, and that's why I moved to Florida, because I hated the snow, hated the cold, and I actually loved working and wanted to work all year. That's why I moved to Florida. Here's another cool one. This one's got flash material on the inside. 606 or 6C6 is that one. I'm not going to go through all of them because it would... 76, that one, that's an RCA. Western Electric. That one. There's just these that I went through, and then I'll kind of uncover the others quick. 25Z5, this guy. Six pin. Cunningham, made in USA. I believe it was Cunningham was. If it was a video I watched that was listed with RCA, I believe, merged with or was bought out by RCA. If I remember that right, that's off the top of my head, so don't. January. I can't totally read that. 6F5G. What's up, G? 76. You can almost see inside that one. Just super cool these things are. Look at the freaking grids and all that just going on inside there. It's freaking unreal. I haven't actually just wiped them off and showed Dad, and Mom, but never really like, I can't look at that right now and tell you what's the grid, and I can guess, but it would be a little bit of a guess, to be honest with you. The grid, the anode, the cathode, the filament. Not really sure yet with the, well, it looks like these two down the center would be the filament, if I'd be guessing. The heater. Heater is separate from the cathode. But there is times where the cathode and the filament are together. So, like I said, I've been learning more and more about it, but it's really gets confusing. Basically, what you got for tubes, you got, I mean, there's a whole ton of them. You got your anode, cathode, which is your positive, and your positive, which is your anode, is your plate. Your cathode, you got your grids. Then you got 3 different kinds of grids that I've learned. There's suppression, the control grid, which is your main grid, control grid. Then the another one. You also have a grid. There's a grid that's it kind of, yeah. Here they are down here. It might be the suppression grid or a focusing. Yeah, the focusing beam. That's what I'm trying to think of. That's what it does. Is it has a bias on it, which can focus the electrons more instead of having them bounce back and bounce into other ones, and you kind of, it develops distortion that way is what happens. So they flow a lot better. So you have focusing beam, you have your second screen, which is here, your initial grid. We could be right in here too, right down the center here. And as you see, here's your filament. Your filaments are usually at 6.3 or 12.6 volts. It could be center tapped and make it a 12.6. Or if it's a single like this, typically they're 6.3. They could be 12.6 for all I know. Again, I'm still learning this stuff. Pretty much with the numbering system on these, 30G4, so 30 is the voltage of the filament. G is the manufacturing code, and the 4 is the pins of important components. The number of important components in each tube. So, again, this is the octal tube down here at the bottom, and where the octal is always how you count. You have the octal keyway up, and then you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on up through, always clockwise. However, there is a type of vacuum tube out of the EU that is used that's just the opposite. I don't have one or know offhand what that would be. It's not Russian tube or nothing like that. Them are different even. Your best bet is to gurgle them. That's how you'll get it figured out. That's the best way. So you got triode tubes, pentode, tetrode. You have dual triodes, rectifier tubes, and basically that's how they work. Your positive is your plate, which is up here, your anode, and then down here is your cathode, which is your negative. This is kind of the top view looking down.